Hey guys, story on the front page of YouTube today about two girls. One's 18, one's 15, and they started spending time together a couple of years ago apparently. And so, they would have been 16 and 13 and 17 and 14, and now they're 18. The one's 18 and one's 15. And as soon as the 18-year-old turned 18, apparently the younger girl's parents told the police, because in the place that they live, 18 is the legal age of adulthood. So in Japan it's 20. In this particular state of America, apparently it's 18. So for sex, as far as sex is concerned. So the 18-year-old's been charged with having sex with an underage girl. So interesting. It's interesting to watch the reaction to it. First of all, the fact that it's on the front page of YouTube. I think every day in some place around the world, a whole bunch of 18-year-old guys are getting charged with having sex with 15-year-old girls. I'm sure of it. Not in Australia. The law in Australia is 17 and 16, I think it is, or something like that. But it happens all the time, doesn't it? It happens all the time, and we rarely see that, or never see that, on the front page of YouTube. But interesting, isn't it, when it's two girls? Or when it's a girl and a girl, it's the front page of YouTube. So I think there's probably a few reasons for that, isn't there? There's the fact that YouTube, the deviant part of YouTube, or the voyeuristic sort of part of YouTube, is probably what's made it so successful. Boobies and anything sex related has always been huge on YouTube. So, and most guys have some sort of little bit of curiosity about lesbian acts. Two girls having sex together is a popular topic for guys and for porn movies stuff, isn't it? So there's that aspect too. But it's also interesting to see the difference in the reaction when it's girls as opposed to guys. When it's an 18-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl, it's a much different reaction than an 18-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl, isn't it? If the 18-year-old was a male instead of a female. So if you read the comments on the video, and probably on this video, you'll see that there's a lot of people defending it and saying, oh, but it's okay, there's no problem with it, and what's the problem, and they were both consenting and all that sort of stuff. And there probably would be some people that would say that too if it was an 18-year-old. 18 and 15 is not a huge gap, is it? But they've got to draw the line. Obviously, they've got to draw the line somewhere. So there has to be some line. So in Japan it's 20. In Australia it's 17 for boys and 16 for girls, or something strange like that. It's actually two different laws, unless they've changed it recently. But every place has to have a line, don't they, where they draw it. Japan said 20. Australia said 17 and 16. Different countries have different lines that they draw. So in Japan, I'll just clarify, in Japan the federal law is 13, but the state by state laws are all at least 20. So yeah, we get that on the Japan channel all the time, all the pedophiles asking about 13-year-old girls, but no, there's a line, and they have to draw a line. So I've heard it argued, both sides of this argued. Some people argue that that the law should be 20 because people aren't mature enough until then to make a rational or a good enough decision about sex. But I've heard other people argue that 13, 14 is past physical maturity, so that should be old enough. It depends on your perspective, I guess, but they have to draw a line somewhere. So there's always going to be this problem. Even if they drew the line at 15, then you have a 15-year-old have sex with a 14-year-old, and the 15-year-old could still be charged. So that's always going to be an issue, isn't it? That line, where you draw the line, and maybe the other person isn't that much younger, but they are under the age, so that's the law. So then it's up to judges and magistrates, I guess, to decide on the punishment, So if there's only 1 or 2 years difference and they're both consenting and they're both happy, well-balanced people, I guess, the judge probably has a bit of leeway in what punishment he gives, as opposed to a 30-year-old and a 15-year-old, something like that. So there's that. But as far as the girl and girl thing, we've seen this before. Probably a better example of the inequality or the unequal reaction to these things is the school teacher example. And we've all seen these around the world, haven't we? Where the 25-year-old or 30-year-old school teacher gets charged with having sex with a 15-year-old boy, or a 16-year-old boy. And interestingly, the reaction to it, you know, interesting. I mean, some people say, oh, she should go to jail forever, or she should be hung up by her feet or something. But there's always a lot of people that say, lucky bastard, you know. Lucky guy. Wow, if I was 15 and had sex with my 30-year-old teacher, I'd be happy, you know. I must admit, there was a couple of teachers that I had that I wouldn't miss bliss. But anyway, yeah, the point is that we can't really, the law can't really do that, you know, just because we think it's more acceptable for a 30-year-old female teacher to have sex with a 15-year-old boy. You know, some people think, I'm not saying everybody does, but just because some people think that that's okay, you know, but the 30-year-old male teacher and the 15-year-old girl is not okay. So, you know, it's okay for people individually to have those, what's that? That's an unequal reaction to those two situations, isn't it? You know, both those adults are 30, both those kids are 15, but because this is a female and that's a male, that's okay, and this is a male and that's a female, that's not okay. So it's an unequal reaction, and the law can't do that. So people individually can do that, but the law can't do it. So it's the same as this 18-year-old girl and the 15-year-old girl, you know. You know, they have a little bit of sympathy for me, because I think it's the same as if it was an 18-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl. If they were consenting and they'd spent a lot of time together for a couple of years and they were both consenting and happy and everything was cool, I'd have a bit of a problem with the 18-year-old being punished for that too. You know, I think it's a bit... Obviously, it's not a one-off encounter. If an 18-year-old took advantage of a 15-year-old in some sort of one-off encounter that happened once, and then the 15-year-old regretted it and felt bad about it and ended up all messed up about it, then, you know, that's why the law's what it is, and then the 18-year-old should be punished, I think. But if you've got an ongoing thing that's been going on for a couple of years, and both people are happy, and it started when they were both underage, you know, they're both happy and well balanced, and there's no sort of, nobody's suffering as a result of it, except the younger girl's parents, obviously, were unhappy about it. But it's tricky. I'm glad I'm not the judge. I'm glad I just make YouTube videos, because that'd be a tricky one if you were the judge on that one, I think. But again, probably not. The judge probably just looks at the law books and looks at the precedent and said, well, last week in this court we had an 18-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl, and they've been together for a couple of years and they're both happy, but I had to punish the 18-year-old boy with 6 months in detention or something. Well, he'll have to do the same thing for the girl, won't he? You know, and that's exactly what the prosecutor would be saying. The prosecutor would just say, well, you know, you've got to apply the law equally. You can't say, well, lesbian act, that's sort of kinky, let's approve of that. No, we can't be doing that, can we? We've got to be consistent. So, but interesting topic anyway, and classic, it's on the front page of YouTube, you know, because people are always sort of curious about any lesbian stuff, I think, and then the pedophile angle as well. So lesbian pedophile, you know, what a winner. What a winner on the front page of YouTube. It was an 18-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl. We never would have seen it, would we? This would have been a non-event. Wouldn't have even been a YouTube video, I'd be guessing. Would have just been another day in the life, wouldn't it? So anyway, mildly interesting. It's more interesting to some people than to others, I'd be guessing. But I think the most interesting part of this video, as usual, is going to be the comments. Bring them on. What have you guys got to say? I can't wait. More videos coming soon.